Today we are going to make this ooey gooey cheesy chimichanga that your family is absolutely going to be obsessed with because mine sure is. And I hate to admit it, but we've probably ate it like 4 times in the last few weeks. So we're going to get started and we're going to pull out our meat from the fridge. Now you can use pretty much any that will take well to being slow roasted. So I'm using a beef chuck roast. But certainly you could use pork or whatever you have on hand or whatever is really cheapest at the store that week. And we're going to go ahead and salt and pepper it and do that on both sides. And we're going to throw it into the Instapot after we do this and get a nice sear on both sides just to get some really good color and some good flavor on there. And then we're going to get together our seasonings that are going to go with it in the Instapot. So I put in about 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning and about 2 tablespoons of garlic. Now, you don't really have to be super accurate with this or anything. It's just going to add some nice flavoring. You could also throw in like a fresh onion, garlic, whatever you have on hand. I was feeling a little lazy today, so that's what we use. But really, you just want to flavor your meat so that it has a nice flavor going into the chimichanga. Now, I like to put in chipotle peppers, and the canned version is the best and easiest version that I've found. But certainly, if you find dried versions, that's awesome too. We don't have that locally, unfortunately, at least in the stores that I've been able to find. So this is a really great substitute, and I just do that in there. I put it on about an hour and a half on high pressure, and we're just going to get together everything else while we're waiting. So this is going to be for the tortillas. Now, I know it's a lot of butter, but I like a buttery tortilla, and you could certainly substitute oil. There's a lot of different recipes for tortillas. I think originally you might use lard, but I never have that on hand. And we're just going to throw that into the mixer, and we're going to put some flour in there, some water, and some salt, and we're going to have the dough hook on there, and we're going to start to get it mixed up. Now, you could absolutely do this by hand too, and this is before I added the water. I like to just get the butter kind of incorporated, and then I'm going to add the water, and you want kind of like a sticky dough, but not too sticky. The more you make tortillas, the better you're going to like learn the consistency of it. And then you are going to want to let it rest for about at least 30 minutes. The longer you can let it rest, the better. Now we're going to take some poblano peppers and some serrano peppers as well, and we're going to put them on a tray and bake them at about 450 for like 20 to 30 minutes. You want to just keep an eye on it. Once you start to really like smell it in your house, that's usually when they're about done. But you want a little bit of a char on there so that we can put it into our cheese sauce later. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put some flour out. We've let our tortillas rest, and now we're just going to roll them out with a rolling pin. Now, if you have a tortilla press, that is awesome. I would totally use that. That is one of my things that I would really love to get for my birthday, and I've been keeping my eye out for them. We make them at least once a week, so it would still be worth it for us. And now I'm going to grate some cheese for the cheese sauce. Now, I use a white cheddar cheese, and I really highly recommend using one that's from a block and shredding it. It's going to melt so much better. And if you can get the white cheddar and avoid all of the dyes, even better. Now we're going to throw our tortillas on a hot skillet, and this kind of takes a little bit of multitasking, and I definitely burned a tortilla from not paying attention, so just make sure you keep an eye on it. Set a timer if you need to. And now that our peppers are done, we're going to take them out of the oven. They've cooled at this point, and we're going to peel some of the skins off of it. And you don't have to like peel them all. If we're going to blend it, it's going to be fine, but just peel what you can. And then you're going to cut them up, and we want to take out as much of the seeds as we can from the poblanos. And from the serrano standpoint, it really depends on like how spicy you want it, on how many seeds you keep in there. Now, I was adventurous, as you can see, and I didn't really take out any because my husband has been complaining about how I'm not making things not spicy enough, and the cheese was spicy, let me tell you. So definitely, if you don't want it spicy, take out the seeds. But it was actually really good. It added a lot of flavor, but a little too spicy for me. Now you can see I added the butter in here, and at this point I am like still getting used to this stove. And it's just so much hotter than the one that I cook at home. So like I had to take it off the heat or I was going to burn the butter. So you can see me like moving it around here. But that's just like cooking, man. You think you can make something like a million times and you're fine. But, you know, sometimes you just mess up on stuff and that's fine. And so I'm adding flour here and I'm making a roux. So you want to add flour to your butter and that's what will make a sauce thickened. And then we're going to add in some milk here and that's what's going to kind of make like our base for the cheese sauce. And then we're just going to want to like mix it up, make sure it's nice and smooth. Next, you want to go ahead and add the cream cheese to the pot. And we're going to use a whole brick here because we want it to be ooey gooey and yummy. And then we're going to add all of the shredded cheese that we did. And I did about like 4 or so ounces. You can do 4 to 8. Really just depends on how cheesy you want it. And then you want to stir it up, like let it melt. Turn on the heat if you need to. We don't want it to be like scalding it. And then we're going to add in our peppers as well and give it a nice little stir. And we're going to let this just kind of sit for like 5 minutes and really let those like flavors infuse. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is use the immersion blender to blend up the cheese sauce. You could also put it into a blender, but I find this is a little bit cleaner and just a little bit easier. And once it's nice and smooth, you can just set it to the side, set it on low. And then you're going to want to start to tear up the meat. Now, it's best if you turn it off and let it cool a little bit. I forgot to do that, and I always forget that it's on like the warm mode after it's done pressure cooking. But you just want to use your fork to kind of separate it. And now I forgot to put in an extra cup of water, so it didn't get as like nice and tender as I had hoped, but it still shred up really well and tasted awesome in the burrito, so in the chimichanga. So just make sure that you, follow directions, unlike me. Okay, so then the next thing that you're going to want to do is start to roll up your tortillas. So I like to put everything at the end of the tortilla so that it makes it really easy for me to roll. And I put the meat and the cheese sauce on. You don't want too much cheese sauce because it'll start to like ooze out. You want to roll it forward and then roll the sides underneath and keep rolling forward until it's nice and secure. And then you want to lay them with the flap side down. And I'm going to show you one more time so you can kind of see, because I find that this is like the hardest part probably, is just like rolling the tortillas. And since they're fresh, they roll really nicely. You don't have to worry about them breaking like a store-bought tortilla. So again, kind of tuck it under, tuck the sides in, and then roll it forward. And then you can either do them all at once or kind of piecemeal, but then you want to put them into the frying pan with a little bit of oil. You don't have to drench it in oil or anything like that. We're going to flip them over. And I always put it with the like seam side down, so it kind of nice, like the crunch kind of forms around it and you don't have to worry about it opening when you flip it over. And then once you flip it over, they're going to be like super nice and golden, and just make sure your oil isn't too high, and that way they won't get too brown. But honestly, even if they look a little bit on the darker side, like you can see these, they look a little bit darker, but they aren't burnt at all. They tasted awesome and they were like a nice crispy texture. But just remember that it does get browner the longer you let it sit. So take it out a little bit before you think that they're done, because it will continue to fry even after you take it out of the pan. So here are just a few of the chimichangas that we did, and you guys, they were so dang good. We just like for sure a new family favorite for us. So once you're done, plate it up, put some ooey gooey cheese sauce all over it, and enjoy. And if you thought this was helpful, please let me know in the comments and share with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe for the next video.